Hey everybody, I'm Nick Blair with Bangert Incorporated. I'm here with Mike Bayo, one of our consultants, and I've been going through the Bangert deployment process and I've come up with some questions, some interesting things that I've run into, and Mike's going to help us go through some of those questions today. Thanks
Yeah,
for
glad
joining.
to. Nice to be here, Nick. Thanks for having me.
My first question that I have for you, Mike, is the Bangert Help Desk.
Hmm.
When you go through deployment, it talks about how the Bangert Help Desk can be the last place, the last resort that you want to go to when you're looking for help. Why is that with Bangert, that our help desk would be the last place when for classic implementation, it'd be the first spot you would look?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. My first answer to that would be real-time answers. Hey, in today's world, we're looking, for instant access, instant response answers right at our fingertips. So, if you're submitting a ticket into the help desk, traditionally it's going to get sent in, someone's going to read it, someone's going to respond to it, and then go, well, I need more information. Can you provide me this, and that? And by the time you're done, it's, the day's gone by. So, with the options we provide, we kind of give you so many more tools at your fingertips that, hey, 95% of what you need, you're going to be able to get right away. And that 5% is where we can catch it in the help desk if need be. So I think that's the big difference. Yeah, for sure.
And so those other avenues that people have, can you talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, with things like Ask Richard, where you can simply come in and start keying a question and get a response back immediately. And not only that, but it tells you what video to go watch. Is a great tool that we're launching up in the system. But just some of the other traditional things with just going in and into our deployment program and going into the area that you're asking the question about, there's recorded videos on all of that. So the first take is can I go back into the purchasing area and find a video on sales tax and click the button and watch through that and watch it in fast speed and fast time. So
I've
so
been
which
doing
is always
that.
kind of fun. And then if you still want that, personal touch with talking to an actual individual, we offer daily Q&As, live Q&As with multiple consultants. And that is really becoming the standard, the norm, where, hey, if I need to talk through something, I know I'm going to be able to go into a Q&A every day, get multiple consultants in that meeting. And not only that, but hear from other customers. So a lot of times it's the other customers answering the question because they just went through it last week. And so that becomes just, a real-time actual, interaction, live interaction that most of the questions can get answered in. So there's lots of avenues, not to mention just your good old standard Sage Intacct, support knowledge base built right into the program, which I use probably more than anything else in the system. So there's a lot of great information at your fingertips even before you have to go and submit that ticket.
Awesome. When you say it's becoming the standard, the Q&As, you
Mhm.
mean Bangert standard or the industry standard?
I mean the customer standard it within Bangert, yeah, within
Okay.
Bangert. So, the customers are, they have taken to it big time. At first it was a little bit of I don't know if I want to talk to other people or have other people in the room.
Right.
Like I said, once you get in there and you see the interaction, it's a great environment to learn and also kind of just listen. A lot of times people will join just to hear what others are asking, and they'll start thinking about something that I didn't think about that yet. I better start planning for that, or so
Right.
things like that just spark that conversation.
That's great to hear. Yeah, my initial um, question or fear was, man, do we not want to talk to our customers? And then I
I don't
started
know.
asking around, and it's the value that it seems people can get from live classes with other people who are actually using the software for the same stuff you're using it for every single day. Because
Yeah, and I think the benefit too is we want to make sure we're not stopping you from moving forward. And so if you can get a live, a live response, if you can jump on a Q&A, if you could find a video, and our response times are fantastic for help desk anyways, but we want to make it even better. So rather than you wait for an hour, we want you to have to only wait for 5 minutes, and so that's just it. So, you can keep moving forward in that deployment at your pace. So
yeah, that momentum is so important in any workplace environment, any task, to have that momentum going. The next one that I have is scenario, right? I'm the approver for lots of journal entries, and I have a beautiful 2-week vacation. I'm going to be leaving the company and maybe the country, and no one's going to be able to get a hold of me. So what do we do when I'm gone and I can't approve the things that I need to approve? What do we do in Intacct when that happens?
Yeah. Yeah. It is specific to the individual area. There's approvals that can be turned on in different modules, and each module has its own different layers of approval and what you can do. But usually in every area of the approval setup, there's going to be what's called an admin approver, or somebody who can always jump on and approve for somebody else. So a lot of times you want to make sure that that admin approver is aware, they're set up as the admin, they're aware they're on backup for that week. So that's one avenue. And another way to do it is with role-based security, where, when you set up approvers, you can actually have different levels. So I'm a level 1 approver, level 2 approver, and those users can be added to that temporarily. Hey, I'm gone, so let's add John to approver level 1 for this week. They'll start getting the notifications. So there's ways in the system, in the approval configurations in each area, to kind of decide how you want to handle that.
That's great. So we don't have to share logins.
Do not have to share logins.
We don't need, we can still have that control in place.
2-step verification on someone else's phone that someone's logging in on your thing. And no, we want to stay away from that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That sounds good to me. Next up, how do we customize the home screen? So in deployment, it talks a lot about customizing that home screen and the things that you could do. Could you maybe show us what it would look like to customize the home screen?
Yeah, for sure. I can share my screen. Yeah. So when you log into Intacct, now there's a couple things. There's this, welcome page. You're always going to have the ability for this to come up. No customization necessary in general. But like you mentioned, what we want to get you to is when I log in, I'm going to start in a different area. I'm going to start in a particular dashboard. Maybe it's a project managers type dashboard, so you can have these different dashboards become your default when you log in. So one of the things you can do is you can establish per user which dashboard I want to see. So, and that's all in the user's preference. And it's quite frankly, probably a very underused area in the system, but you'll notice inside, you'll have your login over here on your top right. So for example, Mike Bale, that's myself. You're going to be able to click on the name and go into my preferences. And this is an area that holds, where you can put in your default login page, your default home screen, but also a lot of other features in the system just for that particular user. So, security questions, how long do I want to get timed out? Maybe I have sensitive information. I want to set that to timeout real quick. If I'm away from my machine, it'll log me out. So you can establish all that per user. And it does even have a little bit of some of the approver settings that we had talked about in the prior question. But what I want to get to is down here. This is the area right here where you're ultimately saying, where do I want to start? When you log in, it can be a dashboard. And in most cases, it is going to be a dashboard, but it doesn't have to be. It can be a menu item. If I'm going in and always managing vendors, maybe I want to start in the vendor list every day. So you can pick and choose, not just the dashboard, but any other area in the system that you might want to start with. And that could be a report itself. So right here in mine is I'm starting with the dashboard, and I can say which dashboard. And I'm starting with our Banger deployment. Okay, so it's a great tool. And then as we scroll down, there's a lot more settings that I was even playing around myself. You know, do we want to click versus hover? You know, menu orders. This is a big one, very underused. A lot of times when you're in the system and you're looking up report lists or vendor lists, you'll see 6 pages. And I have to click next to get to each page, next to get to each page. Well,
Right.
no, you don't. If you go into your personalized pages here and get your records per page bigger, this is where all that's set up, and people don't come into here. And I do max. I don't want to hit a next page. I just want to scroll down. So all of that is in your preferences. So there's a lot of nice little features in here that you need to kind of explore and go through and really make it tailored and specific to each individual user's need in the system, including what home screen do I pop into when I log into Intacct.
And so that's not, if you're my CFO and I'm a controller at the company, that's not something I need your help with. I can just go in and tailor it how I want to tailor it. And anything I have access to, I can put in my home screen and change my preferences there.
Yep. You know, you're going to have security to the dashboards and things like that. And if you don't see them on the list, you know, you don't have security to them. So, you know, ask your admin to give you security. But yeah, correct. Anything that, you know, if you can get into my preferences here, which that may be, you know, that may be secured in your environment, talk to your admin if it is. But usually it's not. Usually, you know, they provide the users the ability to go in there and, you know, and control some of those settings. So it makes it just very tailored to each user in the system. So no matter, again, it's a cloud-based system. So if I log in at my home office machine or at a coffee shop, local internet, I'm going to get the same preferences follow me all over the place.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right. Well, while you're here, I've got one last question for you today, Mike, and that's vendor item cross references. So it's a little bit more specific than the other questions that we've been asking and looking at. But yeah, what's the use case for cross referencing vendor items?
Yeah. And so this is something that we see a lot with customers who are using the inventory module, but not just inventory, but also purchasing. You know, if you're purchasing and you have items set up in your system, whether you're tracking in an inventory or not, when you're ordering those items, you know, the vendors may have different, you know, inventory item IDs that they need on the purchase orders and things like that. So one of the things you can do in the system here is, and this is specific in the item setup, is like you mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and just pick an item here. We'll pick some green wire. And I can edit that item, but if I go into what's called the cross-reference tab, you're going to be able to establish different rules. So, you know, if I'm ordering from a particular vendor and it's this vendor, if it's electronics, I can put in their vendor ID, and this stuff can be imported too. And I can also, maybe they store it by a different unit. So in their system, it's each. You know, and you could store that. So that I could also do multiple vendors. Well, when I order from Jackson Plumbing, it's this number. And so what we can do is now when a purchase order is created in the system, we can have these item numbers be on that purchase order. So when the vendor receives that order, they know what items you're talking about, but you can still store them based on your your ID structure that you've built inside Intacct. And there's more uses as well. Like you can do the same thing on the customer side. If it's a return, you know, a repeat customer who's ordering particular items from you all the time, they call it this. You can do it on both sides, and also substitute. Hey, if you're out of this item, I can grab this item in the system. So it's used for a lot of different, you know, areas in the system that you can use in inventory and purchasing to kind of help you. And so now when you're doing data entry for, you know, you're trying to issue some material to a project, you could pull up this item and it can say, hey, we don't have this in stock. Do you want to use this substitute item instead? And so that's where it's getting all that information from. And there's more areas that we haven't really even talked about as well, but the most common ones are going to be customer, vendor, substitute. So it's a nice little feature in the system, especially for somebody who is tracking inventory.
All right, Mike, I appreciate all your time and thanks for answering my questions. I'm sure I'm going to have some more in the future and we're going to get together and do this again.
That was great. You just keep sending questions. We'll keep answering.
Will do. Thanks so much.